हरि ओम। सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं। भवानी शङ्करौ वन्दे श्रद्धाविश्वासरूपिणौ याभ्यां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धाः स्वान्तस्तमीश्वरं। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेदसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीतायाः पतये नमः। बुद्धिर्बलं यशोधैर्यं निर्भयत्वमरोगता अजाड्यं वाक्पटुत्वं च हनुमत्स्मरणात् भवेत्। ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सूर्याय नमः। ॐ श्री महाविष्णवे नमः। ॐ श्री महादेवाय नमः। ॐ श्री दुर्गायै नमः। ॐ शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। ॐ नमः शिवाय। 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Namah Parvati Pataye Har Har Mahadev. Hari Om, Hari Om. So Bhagwan begins this fourth chapter by telling the Guru Shishya Parampara that he alone started this parampara, giving the knowledge to Lord's son. He gave it to Manu, Manu to Ikshvaku. In this way, traditionally, we get this knowledge. But due to long passage of time, the knowledge gets corrupted. So Bhagwan takes avatar now and then, yuge yuge, to again re-establish dharma, to protect the good, to destroy the evil. So Bhagwan's janma and karma are divine. They are not ordinary. Though unborn, Bhagwan appears to have taken birth. Though Bhagwan is not a doer, but appears to be doing a lot of work. So, a human being who surrenders to Bhagwan and desires moksha, Bhagwan grants him moksha. He says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tans tathaiva bhajami aham. Whoever approaches me in whatever way, I also bless them in the same way. Those who desire some result of this world, I give them that result. Those who desire knowledge, I give knowledge. Those who desire moksha, I give moksha. But all of us, we don't desire moksha. People have lots of desires in their mind, and in order to fulfill those desires, they work. They have this ability to work, to perform karma. Bhagwan says, in this Manushya Loka, in this world of human beings, this special ability is given to all humans to perform work to get their desired result. So human beings are classified based on their gunas and karma, on these four varnas. And all these four varnas, they have their own appropriate work, karma, kartavya, which when they perform properly, then they get the desired result. So Bhagwan says, Chatur Varnyam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, that these four varnas are created by me, means they are a natural expression of that supreme reality. In human beings, the natural expressions are in this fourfold, because they are the expressions of the three gunas. The sattva gun, combination of sattva gun and rajogun, combination of rajogun and tamogun, and tamogun, they express in the human beings in this, and they are broadly classified into four groups, so that it becomes easier for us to understand our karma and accordingly work in this world. See, as I have mentioned, the Atma, the Shuddha Atma, there is no division. The Shuddha Atma is same in every being, not only in human beings, but also animal, birds, plant, devatas. The Atma is same. There is no division of any class in the Atma. Then our Sukshma Sharir, all of us, we have our Sukshma Sharir, which is associated with us from the beginningless time. It is not only in human beings, but even animal, birds, they have their Sukshma Sharir. So in Sukshma Sharir also, this classification is not done. But for a human being, for a human body, this broad classification is being done of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. See, just as we carry samskar in our antakkarana, and which we carry it with us wherever we go. So the samskar which we have collected in our past lives, we have them in this life also, and we carry it in the next life also. But very interesting, simultaneously, this body which we have, this body also carries its own samskar. In the very, what you call, in the DNA of this body, in the genes of this body, it carries the samskar of our forefathers. Even now science knows about it. So we carry this samskar from our ancestors. We mean this body. The body which was there of our great rishis of the past, like we have our Gotra. So the Gotra rishi, the samskar which was there in the body of the Gotra rishi, that was passed on to his disciple or to his son, and through that parampara it has come into this our body. So each one of us, we have our body. That body has got samskar of the body of the father and mother. Then they carry the samskar of their parents. It carries the samskar of their parents. So in this way, the body also carries samskar. So if we are born according to our samskar in a particular family, then we will not only carry the samskar in our mind, but we will also be tuned to the samskar of the body. So if the samskar of my mind and the body matches, then I will be able to express well, and I understand that, then I will be able to express well in this world. My samskar and the samskar of the body will match, and it will help me to perform my work in this world and walk this path of spirituality and ultimately recognize that Supreme Self. But as I said, during this Kali Yuga, especially after the Mahabharata war, lot of Varna Sankar happened, lot of confusion and admixture of this Varna has taken place. So many of us may not know exactly what is our Varna. In India, of course, this tradition is there, but in the world, if you see, look at the whole humanity, that tradition is not there, it is lost. So one may not know exactly what Varna one is born in. One may not know what is the Gotra which I belong to. So for such people who are not aware of their Varna and Gotra and all, Bhagavan has given this thing in this shloka, that one can recognize oneself through our own gunas and karma. So we can find out what is the predominant guna in me, what is my very intimate guna which is more predominant in me, in my mana buddhi chitta ahankar. And what is the karma which is in tune with these gunas. If we can do some self-analysis, if we can do some introspection and understand ourselves and our own inclination, deeper inclination, and if we recognize that inclination and work according to that, dedicating that work to the Supreme, that will also take us to our ultimate goal. This is a little concession we can give to ourselves in this Kali Yuga. So Bhagavan says, Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagashah tasya kartaram apimam viddhi akartaram avyayam. Now Bhagavan says, though I am the doer of this action, though I am the creator of this world, one who sustains this world, one who dissolves this world, one who binds everyone and one who liberates everyone, though it appears that I am doing all this work, but I appear to be the doer only with respect to my Prakriti, my Maya. But if you look at my own supreme nature, then there is no modification, there is no change happening in me, and I am not the doer. So this is a very subtle point which Bhagavan reveals here, कि तस्य कर्तारम अपि माम विद्धि अकर्तारम अव्ययम. Shankaracharya ji, he writes कि यद्यपि माया संव्यवहारेण tasya karmanah kartaram, though because of the association or looking at me through my maya, I appear to be the karta, but api santam mam paramarthatah, but from the supreme standpoint, know that I am not the karta, I am not the samsari, avyayam, asamsaridam chamam viddhi, I am not like any other jiva, I am not a samsari. So this point Bhagavan makes it very clear now in the next verse, verse number 14. Bhagavan says, Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha iti mam yobhijanati karma bhirna sabadhyate. Bhagavan says, Na mam karmani limpanti. Karmas don't bind me. They don't hold me. Karmas don't get attached to me. Karmas don't bind me. Actions don't bind me. And name karma phale spruha. And I don't have any desire for the results of karma, for the results of action. So these two things Bhagavan says. And previously he has said that I am not the doer, though I appear to be the doer. Then Bhagavan says karmas don't bind me. And he also says that I don't have any desire for the results of karma. See, what binds a person to a karma, or how does the karma bind us? What is exactly our bondage with karma? See, it was said in the, we have seen in the third chapter also, that all karmas happen in Prakriti. We had seen in which verse was that? Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashah, 27th verse. Ahankara vimodhatma karta ahamiti manyate. That all karmas happen in Prakriti. But a person who is deluded with ahankar thinks that he is the doer. See, when you look at this world and if you look at all the activities happening, all the activities are happening in Prakriti. But what is propelling this Prakriti to act? That is the question which we have to answer, we have to understand. See, Prakriti belongs to Bhagavan. And without Bhagavan's will, without Bhagavan's Shakti, Prakriti will not work. But what is propelling the Prakriti to act? Because Bhagavan himself doesn't have any desire. Bhagavan himself doesn't have any ahankar. Bhagavan doesn't have any false notion in his mind. Bhagavan doesn't have any desire for a particular results. But still, this Prakriti belongs to Bhagavan. So what propels this Prakriti to perform various actions? One is that through this Prakriti only the whole creation has come into being. The whole creation is sustained. and the whole creation again goes back into dissolution. All these things are happening in Prakriti, but what is prompting the Prakriti to do all this? So Shankaracharya ji, he says that all this Prakriti is prompted by the avidya of all these beings, which has given rise to various different types of desires. So the desires of the totality of all these jivas, they propel the Prakriti in performing the different types of activity. Now let us look at ourselves. We have various desires in us. Those desires rise in our buddhi. The desires get expressed in our mind. The desires get expressed in our indriyas. So when this desires arises in my antakarana, because of my misunderstanding about the idea of where I will gain my happiness and all, or because of my attachment to this body, mind, intellect, I decide to fulfill those desires. So I have what we call ahankar. Ahankar means identification with this body, mind, intellect, considering them as I, and I also have attachment to the desires, and I have attachment to the results of desires. So my ahankar and my desire for gaining a particular result prompts the Prakriti to act and give me the appropriate result. See, for example, you have this mobile. Now this mobile is created by the company. It has manufactured it. Then it has also, we have activated it by putting that SIM card, and I got the mobile number also in my name. And I take the help of the particular server which helps me to operate this mobile. So the company I have not created, the mobile I have not manufactured, the SIM card I have not made, the number I have not created. All this is given to me by the society, you can say, by the company, by the society it has given. It has come to me. But what action I perform through this mobile, it depends on me. What are my desires? Whom do I want to contact? Whom I don't want to contact? What message I want to send to someone? What interaction I have to do with some company or some organization? All these things depend on me. The mobile company, though all activities happen in the instrument and in the world outside, but it is prompted by my ahankar and my desire. So we can't, if suppose some wrong activities I do through my mobile, we cannot blame the company, we can't blame the server, but we have to blame ourselves. We can't say, no, I am just using that company's mobile, so you should blame that fellow. I have sent wrong message, so you punish the company, you punish the server, you punish the electricity department, you punish the government, you punish the society, because all activities are happening in this only. No, I am responsible. If I have the sense of doership, I have ahankar in the mobile, means I think it is mine, it belongs to me, I am operating through it. And if I have desire for a particular result, and to gain that result I activate all these I initiate the activity, then I am responsible. I am responsible for the activity and I am responsible for the result also. It comes to me. Similarly, Ishvara is one who is the to whom belong this Prakriti. And through Ishvara's Prakriti, we have got this body, mind, intellect, senses, the whole equipment. So the manufacturer of this equipment is Ishvara. The activity which is happening in this equipment is because of the laws which Ishvara has made. But the type of activity and the ownership of this activity belongs to the Jiva only. You cannot blame Ishvara. You can't say, oh no, Ishvara has done everything. I should not be blamed. He should be blamed. So, what binds us to an action? Our ahankar and our attachment to the results of action. These two things. Our ahankar is the sense of I which I have, which really belongs to that Shuddha Atma. I have connected it to the body and to my Sukshma Sharir. I think I am the gross body and I think I am the subtle body. Though in reality I am that Atma, I am that Sakshi Shuddha Chaitanya. But I consider myself this. Means I am holding this body mind as I. Just as I hold the mobile as mine. I hold it in my hand and operate it. Similarly, I am holding the body mind in my hand and operating it. So I have the sense of I in the body mind complex, and I have desires and I want the result of this desire. So I have attachment to the result of desire. I have spruha, I have that thirst to acquire the result of action. So these two things, ahankar and karma phale spruha, bind us to a karma. Both these things are not there in Ishvara. Ishvara doesn't have ahankar. There is no ahankar in Ishvara. Ahankar is the product of avidya. There is no avidya that is ignorance in Ishvara. Ishvara is nitya, shuddha, buddha, mukta, svabhavaha. We have seen. He is always free, always wise, always nitya, shuddha, always pure. There is no avidya in Ishvara. Maya is not avidya. Maya is Shakti. Ishvara is Mayapati. But this Jiva is avidya, avidya yukta. Jiva is not Mayapati. Jiva is avidya yukta. He is endowed with avidya. So Ishvara doesn't have ahankar, and Ishvara doesn't have karma phale spruha, attachment or desire for karma phala. Therefore, the karmas don't bind Ishvara, and though he appears to be doing karma, but he is not doing. It is not being prompted by him. These karmas are prompted by jivas, not by Ishvara. So, namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha. These two things. Bhagavan says the karmas don't bind me and I don't have any attachment to the result of karma. Bhagavan says further ki iti mam yobi janati karma bhir nasabadhyate, that all those who recognize me in this way, they will also become free of the bondage of karma. See again, as I had mentioned before, Ishvara is present in us as our own self. But not knowing this self, we have identified with the body, mind, intellect as ourself. So this is ahankar. Ahankar is a product of avidya. Ahankar is a wrong notion. Ahankar is adhyas. Ahankar is false. Ahankar is mithya. It's a wrong notion, which can be set right with proper knowledge. So I, the self, am really Ishvara only. So Bhagavan says, one who knows me as not the doer of action, one who doesn't have any attachment to the results of action, one who is not bound to the karma, Bhagavan says such a person will also become free. Iti mam yobi janati means one who recognizes Ishvara will become free. See, in the beginning it was said that those who understand Ishvara, the divinity of his janma and divinity of his karma, will become free. The divinity of janma was mentioned before, that though Bhagavan is unborn, he appears to take birth. That is the great divinity of his janma. So one who understands this subjectively will become free. Then here Bhagavan is talking about the divinity of his karma. Though outwardly he appears to be performing karma, but really he is not performing any karma. So one who subjectively understands this, that person will also become free. So this is called knowledge, and this knowledge makes us free. It is said that jnanat eva tu kaivalyam. Through knowledge only we become free. What knowledge? Knowledge of ourself as Ishvara. Ourself as Ishvara means my self is one with Ishvara. Means I and Ishvara are one. Means aham brahmasmi. I am that Brahma. When I gain that knowledge, I will become free. So Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji, he writes in the commentary कि एशान तो संसारिणाम अहम कर्ता इति अभिमानः कर्मसु स्पृहा तत्फलेषु च तान कर्माणि लिम्पन्ति. Bhagavan says those samsari who have this false notion that I am the doer, means those who have this ahankar, and those who have great attachment to the result of action, means they want a particular result of action, they are identified with the result of action. Such people, they are bound to karma. But if we don't have this ahankar and we don't have this attachment to the result of action, then we become free. We become one with Ishvara. So this is a very beautiful thing which we have to remember. So Bhagavan says that you follow this path of Karma Yoga, then gain that proper knowledge and gain that abidance in this knowledge, and you will become free. So he says in the next verse, verse number 15, Evam nyatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmatvam purvai purvataram kritam. Bhagavan says that evam nyatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi, that in the good old days also lots of mumukshus, those who had the desire to become free, those who wanted to gain that liberation, wanted to gain moksha, such seekers in the past, having understood the secret of their janma and karma, having understood the secret of Bhagavan janma and karma, having realized that I am not the doer and I don't have any attachment to the result of karma, in the good old days, seekers followed this path, gained this knowledge, and they became free. So, evam nyatva krutam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi. So, in the good old days also, people perform their actions in this way through karma yoga, and slowly and steadily they gain that knowledge, gain abundance in that knowledge, and became free. Therefore, Bhagwan tells again to Arjuna, therefore, hey Arjuna, Kuru karmaeva tasmatvam. Hey Arjuna, you also perform these duties in this way. You also perform your karma in this way. Because karma alone will give you chitta shuddhi and that atma jnana. And even if you think that you have gained knowledge, then for loka sangraha you can do karma. So you also follow the path of karma and become free of karma. So kuru karmaeva tasmatvam purvataram krutam. Just as the seekers, spiritual seekers of the past, they had also followed this path. See, one thing we should remember, that there is no new thing happening in spirituality. The path which is revealed in the scriptures, in our Vedas, in the Upanishad, in Bhagavad Gita, it was revealed in the beginning of this creation. The same path was followed by many seekers in the past, and they attained moksha. The same path is followed now, and the same path will be followed in future also by those who will attain moksha. There is nothing new happening. People should not feel that, just like the science also keeps on developing, and we come to know new and new things. We discover new things. We invent new things. And sometimes we have to give up the old things. Like in the good old days, there was this classical physics, Newtonian physics. But then people came to know the limitation of that physics, that everything doesn't work according to Newtonian laws. And then Einstein and all came up with some relativity theory, general theory of relativity and all. And later on came up with this, quantum mechanics to explain the phenomena of this world. Like for example, the thing which we see in the gross physical world with our naked eye, the laws work in a different way. But if you observe the atoms or the subatomic particles and their activity, they function in a different way. To understand them, we have to understand the quantum mechanics, the subatomic physics, to understand how these electrons and subatomic particles behaves and all. They behave totally differently. We will not understand any logic in their behavior. So, we say that, the science has progressed, new things are discovered, new way of looking at the world is discovered. So, we should drop the old thing and pursue the new. Similar, a person may think in the field of spirituality also, the people in the past, they used to follow some technique of karma yoga, they used to follow some meditation, they used to gain some knowledge, but now we have progress, humanity has progressed. Lot of spiritual masters have come who must have discovered new things, so we should drop the old and try to follow the new path. There is no such thing. There is no new discoveries to be made in spirituality. Of course, the spiritual truth can be conveyed in new ways, with new examples, with new words, with new techniques. You can convey. It's like it is said that ekam sat vipra bahudha vadanti, that the truth is one, the satya is one, but it is expressed in various ways by the wise people. Like here only, we are studying Bhagavad Gita. The same truth is expressed here, which is expressed in the Upanishads. But when you study the Upanishads, it feels as though they are talking differently. They are talking differently, but they are conveying the same truth. The Brahma Sutra also is conveying the same truth, but in a logical way. The Upanishads also convey the same truth by just categorically stating them. The Bhagavad Gita also conveys the same truth in a different way. The Puranas also convey the same truth through different method, but the truth is one. The path is one. The technique is one. And that is what Bhagavan says here, कि हे Arjuna, many seekers in the past, they followed this path of karma, and then they gained the knowledge of my Janma and Karma, the divinity of my Janma Karma. They gained the identification with me and they became free. So, hey Arjuna, you also perform karma. Kuru karmaiva tasmat tvam purvai purvataram kritam. Just as the sincere seekers of the past have done, you also follow on their path. Don't try to venture on some new things. Don't try to experiment. Because this is an opportunity you have got. Don't waste it in experiment. It's like the wheel. Wheel is already invented, discovered. So you don't have to discover it again. Use it. So whatever our past Rishi Munis have conveyed, follow that path and you will attain your goal. So Arjuna must have got this question in his mind, कि hey Bhagwan Krishna, if you want me to just perform this my duty, my kartavya karma, then you just tell now, why are you saying that the previous people also followed the same path and all? Shankaracharya ji raises this question, कि तत्र कर्म चेत कर्तव्यम त्वद वचनात एव करोमि. If kartavya karma I have to do, then by your words only I will do it. Aham kim visheshitena purvai purvataram kritam karomi aham. Kim visheshitena purvai purvataram kritam iti. Why you have to tell about the past and the generation in the past, they followed this, so you also follow. What is the connection? So in the next verse, Bhagavan tells Arjuna what is the connection. He says, Kim karma kim akarmeti kavayopyatra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshami yajñatva mokshase shubhat. Bhagavan says that this karma is not as simple as it appears. It is very subtle. It is very subtle. What is subtle? Bhagavan says, Kim karma. Exactly what is action? What do we mean by action? What is the definition of an action? What do we mean by karma? And kim akarma. And what do we mean by absence of action? What do we mean by action? And what is the meaning of absence of action? Like it was said that Bhagavan, he said that though I am doing, I am not doing. So what is the secret of this karma? What is action and what is absence of action? Bhagavan says, Kavayaha api atra mohita. Even great wise thinkers, intelligent people, they also get confused. They also feel it very difficult to categorize. See, just like let us take another example of life. Even scientists find it very difficult to exactly classify life. What exactly we mean by life? Like this virus. There are difference of opinion among scientists. Some feel that virus is living. Some feel that it is a non-living. it doesn't have its own complete mechanism of living. So they think it is non-living. So even to classify living, non-living, it becomes very difficult. Even a person dies, there are different systems of classifying them. Whom should we consider as death, as dead? Is it that a person is brain dead, he is considered to be dead? Or is it that prana has left the body and it has become cold, it should be considered as death? So there are different definitions are there. Similarly, what can we consider an action? Is it just a movement happening in objects? Should we consider it as action? Like say a stone is at one place and it moves to another place. So should we say that action is being performed? That stone has done that action? Or suppose a person is asleep. Let us say a child is asleep next to its mother, and in sleep the child kicks the mother. So can you consider that as an action of the child? In the waking, if the child kicks the mother, and if in the sleep the child kicks the mother, is it same? Is it different? Or like in our own bodily actions, we see we are breathing. So is it that I am breathing, or is it that breathing is happening? Can we consider breathing as my karma? But even when I am asleep, even when there is no sense of doership, the breathing goes on. So what exactly is karma, and what is absence of karma? Suppose somebody is just sitting doing nothing. His body is still, absolutely still. So is it that no karma is happening? Or is it that there is karma happening there? What is absence of karma? What is karma? He says, Bhagavan says, even great thinkers, they get confused. So don't think that it is so easy. So kim karma, kim akarma iti kavayah. Kavaya means great thinkers who can really see the very depth of things. They are subtle thinkers. As it is said, jahan na jaye ravi, wahan jaye kavi. They can penetrate into things where ordinary people may not have entry into it. Great, sublime, esoteric thinkers. But Bhagavan says even such great thinkers, they get confused regarding karma. Kavayaha api atra mohitaha. And we are bound to this samsara through karma only. So unless we understand the secret of karma and the secret of bondage, we will not become free. Now, the knowledge will liberate us. The wisdom will liberate us from this samsara bandhan. So Bhagavan says it's not very easy. So kim karma, kim akarma, iti kavayaha api atra mohitaha. Kavis also become totally confused. Therefore Bhagavan said, tatte karma pravakshami. Therefore, hey Arjuna, I will tell you now what is the secret of this karma and also of akarma. I will tell you the secret, the mystery behind action and absence of action. Because this knowledge will set you free. This knowledge will liberate you. See, sometimes we go to some new place. We go to let us say we go to a very 5-star hotel. We go to stay there. We book a room. Then we go to the bathroom. Sometimes we see some features in the bathroom, we don't know how to operate it. We want hot water, and we don't know where are the mechanism to operate. Sometimes we turn one thing and the cold shower falls on us. We turn another knob and the whole thing becomes too much hot. So there are different mechanisms by which it works. If we don't know, then we will be totally lost. Sometimes we find some bulb is always on, we want to switch it off and we look for the switch everywhere, but it is never seen. Finally, out of frustration, we break that bulb only. But later on the person comes and says, oh, it is here next to your bed. You just press it and it switches off. Similarly, we are bound to this karma and we struggle to become free of this karma bandhan. We try all sorts of tricks. People try different types of techniques. In the name of spirituality, in the name of religion, they will do all sorts of tricks. In the name of tapas, they will torture their body. They will roll all over. They will go without food. They will stand in cold water. They will go out in the open sun, in the sunlight and with lot of fire around. Lots of things. Then different techniques of meditation. But still we continue to be held by the karma. Karma must be laughing at us. ये पागल देख छूटने की कोशिश कर रहा है, but is still bound. It's like a person falls in a quicksand and struggles to come out. The more he struggles, the more he goes inside. But if he knows the technique, then without much effort, he can just come out of that quicksand also. So similarly, Bhagavan says people are stuck in this karma. Even after telling them 100 times, they will not understand and get more and more bound. They don't understand that how Bhagavan, though performing karma, is not a doer. They don't understand how, though taking birth, I am unborn. So they don't understand. So Bhagavan says, I will tell you the secret of this karma. So tatte karma pravakshami. And why we should know the secret of karma? Because knowing this you will become free. Yad jnatva mokshase ashubhat. Just knowing the secret of karma and how it is binding you, you just turn and you become free. See, sometimes there are some locks, very secretive lock. You don't know how to, you have the key also and the lock is also there, but you don't know, you keep on turning here, there, it doesn't open. Then the person tells you, aisa, you use it, this thing is there, you just lift it and you will find a secret opening there, and then use this key here and then remove this key from there and then you turn this here and lo, the lock opens. And it becomes very easy. Similarly, Bhagavan says you are bound to this karma. Now you understand the secret of karma. I will tell you. And once you know that secret, you will become free. Effortlessly. So, tatte karma pravakshami. Yad jnatva mokshase ashubhat. By knowing this, you will become free. So what we have to know? See, all of you, please listen. Don't go ahead and think about something else. So listen to what I am saying. So Bhagavan tells now in the next verse what he will tell. He says in the 17th verse, Karmano hyapi bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. So this karmana gati is gahan. So you have to listen carefully. Even many of you may have listened to this before also, but the trick is, the secret is to listen afresh. to listen as though you are listening for the first time, then the secret will get revealed. Because if we have missed it before, then we have to listen. But if we assume that, oh, I already know, if you assume that, oh, I think it is like that, then we are not available to listen. So one should listen and think about it and understand it deeply, then it will be very easy. So Bhagavan says, Karmanaha api bodhavyam. Bhagavan says you should know what is karma. Karma means what are our kartavya karma, shastra vihita karma. What are the karma which are given to us by the shastra, which is ordained, which we have to do. Like I have said, yajna dana tapak karma. Karma according to our guna and karma. According to our gunas, what is the best karma which I should do? See, in spirituality, means in our sadhana, it is not, we should not try to imitate others. We should find out what is my exact guna, and accordingly, if I do that karma, it is best for me. What is good for the other person may not be good for me. Our sadhana should be tailor-made. See, when we go to the shop to buy some clothes or dress, general numbers and general sizes are there. What you call small, medium, large, extra large, extra large. But even when you wear them, the medium is too short for you, large is too large for you. It doesn't fit. So you buy that and then you alter it. You go to the tailor. You say that इसको थोड़ा यहाँ से थोड़ा सा फिट कर लो, यहाँ थोड़ा सा ढीला कर लो, यहाँ थोड़ा सा टाइट कर लो, यहाँ थोड़ा सा लंबा कर लो, यहाँ थोड़ा सा छोटा कर लो. And after doing all this, then it becomes perfectly fit for you. You feel very happy and look very good also. Similarly, the general sadhana is given to everyone, but we should find what exactly is my guna. What is my spiritual evolution now? What is the best sadhana for me? That I should follow sincerely. So this we can actually understand when we understand the secret of karma. So Bhagavan says, Karmano api bodhavyam. You should know what is karma, means what is the kartavya karma, what is the vihit karma, what is ordained by the scriptures. Then bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha. Then we should also know what are the nishiddha karma. What are the actions which we should avoid? What are the actions we should not do? What are things which are not good for me? See, even when we go to a doctor, what you call a Vaidya, Ayurvedic doctor, that doctor will not only give you medicine, but will also give you some pathya, it is called. Pathya means what you should do and what you should not do. What are the food you should avoid, what food you can take, what combination of food you should avoid, what combination of food you should take, when you should take this medicine, how you should take. So all sorts of rules he will convey. And he will tell that if you are suffering from this, you should avoid this. Absolutely, you should never touch it at all. So similarly in karma, I should know what karma I should do and what karma I should never do. Even in my dream. So they are called vikarma. So bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha, and that also I should know. Then akarmanaha. Then akarmanaha cha bodhavyam. And I should also know what is the meaning of absence of karma. What exactly it means that I am not doing anything, or there is no karma happening, or absence of karma, tushni bhavaha. So when I not do anything, when I just keep still, when I keep my mind also still, is it that no karma is happening, or is it that karma is still happening? So I should know the secret of absence of karma also. Not knowing this secret, people spend their energy and time in meditation techniques which involves this only. They will try to stop their thinking, they will try to stop their movement of the body, they will try to manipulate their breathing, try to stop it, do all sorts of tricks, but it doesn't help. The sense of doership doesn't go. They are as foolish as they were before meditation, then after meditation. So akarmanascha bodhavyam. So one should know what is the secret of akarma also. Why all this thing we should know? Bhagavan says gahana karmano gatihi. The gati of karma, the nature of karma, the depth of karma is very gahan, is very difficult to comprehend. It is not very easy. It is very deep and subtle. Therefore, you should know the secret of this karma. So this secret which Bhagavan has promised here in these verses, he will reveal now in the next verse. The next verse is very important, very deep, very beautiful. And Bhagavan says, one who understands that verse, that which is conveyed there, subjectively, deeply, will become free, will gain moksha. So what it is, we will see in our class tomorrow. Till then, stay safe, stay home, stay happy, peaceful, healthy. Do your work, do your upasana, remember Bhagwan. Contemplate on what we have studied today, read your notes, and we will meet again tomorrow. Hari Om. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram, 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 Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. बोलिए सियावर रामचंद्र भगवान की जय. ओम पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ओम शांति शांति शांतिः. हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ओम. हरि ओम.